Hello students. So in previous class we had already done a passive voice of present indefinite tense and present continuous tense. So we will start third one, present perfect tense, the passive voice of present perfect tense. So the passive formula of present perfect is what? Subject, has and have, then been, then V3, by and object. So students, in previous class I had also made you understand about the use of been and being, you know. So been is used with all the perfect tenses, and being, this means it is very easy to understand using being. There is ing form with be, you can say. So when there is ing, so you have to understand, that the continuous tenses are having ing form with the verbs. So remember, if you need to use being, so it will be used always with continuous tenses. Okay, now let's understand it with the help of some examples. So the first example is, you have disturbed me. So here the main verb is disturbed. So disturbed whom? So the answer is what? Me. So your object is what? Me. And as you know, the subject I as an object, it becomes what? Me. So if you have to make me the subject, then it will become what? I. So you can see I have done here at first in the passive sentence I. So the subject of your passive sentence has become I. So with I have used what? Have. And then been I have used here, and V3 has been used here as disturbed. And the fourth step you had to do, that was what? By. So I have done here by. And at last what happens? Subject of active voice becomes the object of passive voice. So the subject is you here, and you can see you remains same you. So at last I have done here you. So students, now your passive sentence is, I have been disturbed by you. The second one, they have seen the ghost. So seen what? The ghost. So students, here the ghost is the object. So you have to put the ghost at the place of the subject of passive voice. So you can see in the passive voice I have done here the ghost. Now the second step is has and have. So with the ghost I have used here has. And then third step is what? Been. So I have done here been. And then V3 is seen. In perfect tenses, students, you will always get third form of the verb. You do not need to change the verbs into third form, because in all the perfect tenses you get third form of the verb. So here there is what? Seen. And then by. So here I have done what? By. And then at last what you have to do? Subject of active voice becomes the object of passive voice. So here the subject is they, and it has become what? Them at last at the place of object of passive voice. Now let's understand the third one. The third one is what? The police have arrested the thief. Once again, here I would like to remind you that your subject is police. So there is no need to add by. Clear, students? So let's choose the object first. So the police have arrested the thief. So arrested whom? So here the thief is the object of this sentence. So in passive voice, at the place of subject I have made what? The thief. And then after has, as the thief is singular, and then been, and then V3 is what? Arrested. So now your sentence is, the thief has been arrested. Now let's understand the fourth one. The fourth one is what? The mob has broken all the shop windows. Clear, students? So the mob has broken what? To all the shop windows. So here your object is what? All the shop windows. So all the shop windows will become the subject of passive voice. So you can see here in the passive voice I have done at first all the shop windows, and as windows is plural, so I have done here have, and then been, then V3 broken, and then by, and then the mob. The mob is the subject of active voice, so it has become the object of passive voice. Now let's understand the fifth one. Fifth one is what? Shakespeare has written this beautiful poem. So Shakespeare has written what? So this beautiful poem. So this beautiful poem is the object of this sentence. So you have to put it at the place of the subject of passive voice. So I have done here this beautiful poem as the subject of passive voice. And then here we are talking only about a singular poem. So we have to use what? Has, and then been, and then what? V3 written, and then agent by, and then what? Shakespeare will become the object of passive voice, students. So you have just finished here all the three tenses of present tense as passive voice. Now let's start the second tense, past tense. So the first one we have to start, that is past indefinite tense. So past indefinite passive form is what? Subject, and then was, were, and then v3, by, and object. So students, in this past tense, you will get what? You will get subject, and immediately after the subject you will get second form of the verb. So let's understand the first one. So the first one is what here? The doctor examined. So you can see the doctor is subject and examined is second form. So the doctor examined the patient. So examined whom? So your object is what? The patient. So the patient has become the subject of passive voice, and the patient is singular, that's why I have added here was. You can see here was. And then v3 you had added what? And then v3 what you have to use? That is examined. Clear, students? So now your passive sentence is the patient was examined, and you can see here there is no need of by, as I have already made you understand that with people, doctors, someone, somebody, you don't have to use by. So here I have done like that. Now let's understand the second example. Your second example is the Indians won the match. So your object is the match. So the match, and then was, were, one of them you have to use. So I have done here was, and then v3 is what? Won, and then fourth step by, and then the last step is what? The Indians. So I have done here the Indians. So now your passive sentence is the match was won by the Indians. Now let's understand the third one. Someone stole my purse in the train. So someone stole what? My purse. So students, remember here only my purse is the object. So you have to put my purse at the place of subject of passive voice. Then was, and then v3 stolen, and then in the train rest of the sentence you had to use, and someone you have to omit. Now let's understand the fourth one. The fourth one is what? Fourth one is I posted all the letters. So I posted what? So your object is what? All the letters. So I have done here all the letters, and students, letters is plural, so that's why I have added here were, and then v3 posted, then by, and me. So all the letters were posted by me. Now the last example is tigers attacked the travelers. So tigers attacked on whom? So your answer is what? The travelers. So here in the passive voice, the travelers, and travelers is plural, that's why I have done here were, and then v3 attacked, and then by, and then tigers. Clear, students? Now let's understand the next tense of past tense. So the second tense of past tense is past continuous tense. Its passive form is what? Its passive form is subject, was, were, being, v3, by, and object. Remember, students, I had told you that in continuous tenses, when you change the continuous tenses in passive voice, then you need to add what? Being, ing form. Clear? So here being you have to use. So let's understand it with the help of examples. So the first example is what? My brother was watching the match. So watching what? So your answer is the match. And now was, and then being, and then v3 watched, and then fourth step is what? By, and then my brother as the object of passive voice. Now the second example is what? Second example is I was solving the problem. So solving what? So the problem. So the problem I have done here, and then was, and being, with as v3 solved, by, and I has again become here what? Me. So now your sentence is the problem was being solved by me. Now let's understand the third example. She was drawing a picture. So drawing what? A picture. So I have done here as the subject of passive voice, a picture, and as a picture is singular, so I have added here what? Was, and then being you have to use here, and then V3. So draw has become what? Drawn, and then by, and she has become at the place of object what? Her. So now your sentence is a picture has been drawn by her. Now let's understand the fourth example. The doctor was examining the patients, patients. The patients, this means plural. So the subject is what? The patients. And as the subject is plural, I have added here were, and then being, then V3 examined. And doctor, the doctor you have to omit, you can say by, there is no need to use by with the doctor. Now let's understand the fifth example, that is he was vexing me. Now he was vexing whom? So he was vexing me. So students, I becomes what? Me. So if you need to change me as subject, so it will become what? I. So me will become what? I at the place of subject of passive voice. So I have done here what? I, and then was, and then being, and vex has become what? Vexed as V3. Then fourth step is by, and then he has become what? Him. So now your sentence is I was being vexed by him. So you have also done past continuous tense, and now let's understand the third one, past perfect tense. So its passive form is what? Subject, then had, been. Remember students, here this is perfect tense, and as I had earlier told you to use been in all the perfect tenses, so here I had used what? Been, and then V3, then by, and object. So now let's understand it with the help of some examples. He had informed me. Again here, informed whom? So me. So me will become what? Me will become as the subject I. So in the passive voice, the subject has become I, and subject you have done, this means the first step you have done. So the second step you have to do, that is what? Had. So I have done here had, and then been, the third step, sorry, had, with had you have to use been at the place of second step. Third step is what? Informed, and then by, and at last he will become what? He will become him. So now your sentence is what? I had been informed by him. Now let's understand the second example, that is I had painted the wall. So here painted what? I had painted what? So the wall. So the wall is the object of the sentence. So just put it at the place of the subject of passive voice. So I had done here the wall, and then had, then been, and then V3 painted, and then by, and I has become what at last? Me. So your sentence is the wall had been painted by me. Now let's understand the third one. Third one is what? She had taught the students. So here the object is what? The students. So the students has become the subject of passive voice, and then had, then been, then V3 as taught, and then by, and she has become what at last? It has become her. So your sentence is now the students had been taught by her. Now let's understand the fourth one and the fifth one. The fourth one is what? Ram had completed the work. So Ram had completed what? So your object is the work. So the subject you have to make, that is what? The work had been, and V3 completed by, and if there is a name, I mean to say nouns at the place of the subject of active voice, so the very same nouns, very same names you have to add at the place of the object. So I have done here what? Ram. Clear? Okay, now let's understand the fifth example, that is the boy had pushed the chair into the corner. So the boy had pushed what? So your answer is the chair. The boy had pushed what? The chair. So I have just made the chair the subject of passive voice, and then after I have used what? Had, then been, then pushed as V3, and then rest of the sentence into the corner, and then by the boy. You can also use by the boy first and into the corner last. As I have already told you about future tense, that future tense is having only two tenses, for changing into passive sentences. The first one is future indefinite tense, and the second one is what? That is future perfect tense. Continuous and perfect continuous in future tense, they are not having passive sentences. So let's start future tense. The first one, future indefinite tense or simple future tense. So its passive formula is subject shall will. If you need to use shall, you can use with subject I and we. But in modern English grammar you can use will with all the subjects, whether it would be first person I and we. But if you want to use shall, remember to use only with first persons I and we. Clear, students? But you can also use will with I and we. So let's understand ahead. At first you have to use subject, then shall, will, one of them, then be you have to use, and after be you have to use what? V3, and then by, and then object. So the same thing we have to do here too. Let's understand with the help of the examples. So the first example is she will cheat you. So she will cheat whom? Then the answer is you. So you has become the subject here. And then will, I have done, and then be, and then V3, cheat has become cheated, and then by, and she has become what? Her. So now your sentence is what? You will be cheated by her. Now the second one, people will remember him. So him is remember whom? So him. So him is object here. So he becomes what? Him as the object. So if this object has to be the subject, it will become what? He. So your passive sentence is he will be remembered. And if he will be remembered, you can just imagine by whom? By the people. Now the third example is what? Somebody will beat you one day. Again here, students, somebody is the subject that you have to remove. This means what? You don't have to use here by. So somebody will beat you one day. Then somebody will beat whom? Then your object is you. So you have to take out you and you have to put you at the place of the subject. So I have done here you at the place of subject of passive voice. So you will be beaten one day. There is no need to use by somebody. But students, if you use by somebody, your sentence will not become wrong. Remember this. Okay, now let's understand the fourth example. The fourth example is what? That is, we shall follow him. So him is here object, and when you change him as the subject, it will become he. So he will be followed by, and we has become at last us. So now your sentence is what? He will be followed by us. Now let's understand the last example, fifth example. I shall never forget those happy days. So I shall never forget. Forget what? So your object is what? Those happy days. So those happy days has become the subject of passive voice. So here those happy days will, and then in your sentence there is never. So never, and be, and forget has become as V3 forgotten, and then by, and at last I has become what? Me. So now your sentence is what? Those happy days will never be forgotten by me. So you have just done the first one, the passive voice of first one, future indefinite tense. Now let's understand the last one, future perfect tense. The passive form of future perfect tense is what? Subject, shall, will, and then have, then been, V3, by, and object. Now let's understand it with the help of some examples. So the first example is, they will have done the work by next Monday. So they will have done what? So your answer is the work. So only the work you have to take out, and you have to make it the subject of passive voice. So I have done here the same. The work. Will, and then have. So I have done here have. Then been, I have done here been, and then V3 done. This is perfect tense. So you will get in this tense third form of the verbs. So done, and then by. So by. Clear? If you write here by them, your sentence will not become wrong. In the second one, that is, the children will have eaten the cakes. The children will have eaten what? The cakes. Now let's understand, the cakes will have been eaten by the children. So this is your passive sentence. Now let's understand the third example. That is what? The third example is I shall have proved it. I shall have proved it. So proved what? It. So it then will have been, then V3 proved by, and at last I has become what? Me. Clear, students? Now the fourth example is she will have prepared tea. So she will have prepared what? So your object is tea. So tea will have been prepared by, and she has become what? Her. Clear, students? Fifth one is what? My father will have bought a car. So my father will have bought what? So a car. A car is the object. So a car will have been bought by my father. Now students, let's understand the passive voice of modals. Students, as we are having 13 modals, but in modern English grammar we are having only 9 modals, you can say. Clear, students? So we are having 9 modals here, and I have just written it here. You can see here, so these modals, with these modals, how do we have to change these modals into passive voice? We have to use be and V3 after modals, and as I had told you to use 5 steps for changing sentences into a passive voice. So all the 5 steps here too you have to use, but remember, with modals what you have to use? B and V3 you have to use. Clear, students? So now let's change some sentences of modals into passive voice. The first one is he may defeat you. So he may defeat whom? You. So you has become the subject, and then the very same modal that will be in the question you have to add. So I have done here may, and after modals you can say you have to use B and V3. So you can see here, after may I have done here B, and then as V3 I have done defeated. Defeat has become what? Defeated here. And then by, and he has become what at last? Him. Now let's understand next example. So the next example is he could kill the lion. So he could kill what? The lion. So the lion, the lion here, the lion could, and could is modal. So after this be, and then V3 killed, and then by, and again he has become here him. So now your sentence is the lion could be killed by him. Next example, I can speak English. So here English can, and can is modal. So be spoken by, and I, so I has become me. English can be spoken by me. Well, she will do this. So here this will be done by her. Next, he might solve it. So it might be solved by him. Next, you must help the poor. So your object is the poor must be helped by you. Clear? Next is what? I should do it. So here again it should be done by me. Now the last example is what? Your friend will blame you. So here you will be blamed by your friend. So students, I hope you have got how to change modals into passive voice. Remember to use B and V3, for changing modals into passive voice. Students. Now let's understand some sentences changing into passive voice. The sentences will be infinitive. Infinitive means 2 plus first form of the verb. So in case of changing infinitive sentences 2 plus V1 into passive voice, you have to use this formula. Helping verbs, you can see here in the box helping verbs, and then to be, and then V3. Remember this. Clear, students? Now let's understand it with the help of some examples. So the first example is I am to teach him. So teach whom? So him. So him will become subject. So I have done here he. What? I have done here he, and with he you have to use what? Is. So I have done here is, and then so after is I have done here to be. So he is to be, and V3 is taught, and then by, and then I has become what? Me. So the same thing, same 5 steps you have to follow here. But remember, with helping verbs infinitive, you can say you have to use to, be, and V3. Remember this. Clear, students? Now let's understand the next example. My father is to buy a car. So a car is to be bought by my father. Next example is what? Next example is he was to invite me. And then its passive sentence is I was to be invited by him. Next is I have to prove it. It has to be proved by me. Next example, she has to do it. It has to be done by her. Next is they are to play the match today. The match is to be played by them. You can also use today. Clear? The boys of this school are to plant some trees. So some trees are to be planted by the boys of this school. Now let's understand the imperative sentences changing into passive voice. You know, students, imperative sentences tells us about order sentences, request sentences, and advice sentences. So order sentences having objects, you have to begin your sentence with let, then subject, then be, and V3. Now let's understand it with the help of some examples. You can say the first example is open the door. So open what? Open what? So the door. So the door is object. So the door will become what? Subject. But you have to start your sentence with what? Let. So I have just started the sentence with let, and then the door as subject. Let the door, and then what? Be, and then as V3 open has become opened. Okay? So let the door be opened. Clear, students? Now next example is what? Next example is inform the police. So inform whom? The police. So let the police be informed. Next, bring a glass of water. So bring what? So a glass of water. So begin your sentence with let. Let a glass of water be brought. Clear, students? The next is what? Do this work. So do what? This work. So let this work be done. I hope you are understanding, students. The last example is what? Switch off the light. Switch off what? The light. So begin with let, and then the light be switched off. Now let's understand some sentences, some order sentences without object. You have to begin your sentence with you are ordered to, and then the very same question you have to use. So the first sentence is what? Do. So here your passive sentence is you are ordered to do. The next example is what? Sit down. So here you are ordered to sit down. This is very simple, students. What you have to do, you have to use you are ordered to, and then rest of the question you have to use as I am doing here. Clear, students? The third one is go there. You are ordered to go there. Stand up. You are ordered to stand up. Go to bed. You are ordered to go to bed. Clear, students? So you have got order sentences with object and without object. Now let's understand request sentences as passive sentences. So request sentences always begins with please and kindly. The formula is what? You are requested to, and then the very same question you have to use, but remember from the question you have to remove please and kindly. Clear? Now let's understand it with the help of example. Please sit down. So here I have done you are requested to. You are requested to, and then the question is what? Sit down. And you have to remove please and kindly. The next is please help me. So here you are requested to help me. Now let's see ahead. Kindly give me money. You are requested to give me money, and kindly you have to remove. Kindly post the letter. You are requested to post the letter. Take your chair, please. You are requested to take your chair. Now let's do some advice sentences, students. So the formula is subject, then should, then be, and V3. Remember. So the first is help the poor. So let's see. The poor should be helped. Clear, students? The next sentence is what? Respect your elders. So respect whom? Your elders. So at first I have put your elders, and then should, then be, and respected. Respect has become what? Respected. Now let's see ahead. The next example is love your country. To love whom? Your country. So your country should be loved. I hope you are getting it. Next example is what? Don't insult the weak. So here the weak should not be insulted. Clear, students? Now let's understand the last example. Help your friend. So your friend should be helped. Now we have to understand advice sentences not having object. So your formula is what? You are advised to, and then the very same question you have to use. So the first example is what? Work hard. So you are advised to work hard. Take medicine in time. Medicine should be taken in time. Take care. You are advised to take care. Students, the second example is take medicine in time. So this will go with the object. This is not without object. So just cut this sentence. Next example is don't play in the sun. You are advised not to play in the sun. Walk in the morning. You are advised to walk in the morning.